Hello everybody, Paul Richards here with HuddleCamHD, joined with Patrick Kirby, and as you can see right here, we have the chat room. So I thought that was kind of fun, and behind me, who do I have here? Patrick Kirby, how you doing, Pat?
Hey everybody, nice to see you again.
Thank you for being the co-host that came back from the ghost. He came back from the dead.
Revived for another live stream.
If you've actually seen all 26 episodes, which I'm sure no one has, Pat and me used to do them together all the time. And I thought that since this webinar is going to be all about InfoComm, I thought, hey, what the heck? Let's get Pat back involved. Pat was at InfoComm, had a good time. And Pat, tell us about InfoComm. What did you think? I did a little bit of research, and I found out there was 1,000 exhibitors, 40,000 attendees, and they came from over 110 countries.
Yeah, InfoComm was great. You know, it's definitely more of a kind of a pro AV show. So got a lot of interest. The booth was fun. It was nice to see a lot of our dealers and distributors and end users. A lot of our customers that enjoy using our products. We always enjoy meeting them face to face. And it's good to get out there and kind of see the products that are available. It was a huge show. The Las Vegas Convention Center, it's such a giant place. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. The booth was great. We were able to work a lot with some of our partners. Phoenix Audio and Zoom and some of those other great guys in the market.
Yeah, and speaking of Zoom, I guess before we dig too deep into to InfoComm and everything, we're using Zoom now in a kind of an unconventional way. So I'm actually Zooming with Pat on a secondary computer, and then we have a capture card that's capturing that Zoom video conference and pulling it into our live stream. And then I'm using a virtual set to so it actually looks like Pat is in a television behind me. So that's kind of cool. We also have another layout that we'll look at that's kind of like this, where we'll do a little bit of different stuff as well. But yeah, Pat is coming through a video conference call as opposed to actually being here in the studio, which I thought was kind of fun.
Yeah.
So Pat, you mentioned our booth. Here's a little picture of it. You want to talk about kind of what the reaction was to the booth and how everyone was kind of what people were seeing?
Yeah, it was great. We had a couple different stations going. We were working with the Telestream guys and Wirecast. We had a little Wirecast set up with the HuddleCams, which was cool. And, we had, 3 simultaneous streams going out to, using YouTube, which was cool. It's nice, live streaming the events. A lot of people that didn't make it this year could at least see the immediate booths around us, which was mostly video conferencing companies. But yeah, it was cool. A lot of people stopping by. A lot of the cameras up and running and plugged in, so you could stop by and see those.
Yeah, speaking of video conferencing, and Pat, you remember before these 26 episodes that we've now live streamed on YouTube, which I'm guessing is in the neighborhood of like 5 months worth, or maybe 3 or 4 months worth of YouTube live streaming. We used to use just Zoom, and we would do Zoom video conference calls. And one of the things we realized is that we're still using Zoom, and we could have people join. And there's actually, if you look below, there is a meeting ID. So if anyone wants to join this video conference, this live stream, you can join right now. But one of the things we learned was, look at this slide here. YouTube's potential reach is like 2 billion people. We could also be simulcasting to Facebook. We're not doing that now, but we could, to reach another 1.5 billion. And then you compare that to Skype, which is a big platform that only really gets about 300 million users. And you have to be a user with a login to use Skype. It's night and day, and Zoom is much smaller than Skype. So we found that by live streaming, but still keeping that video conferencing platform available for those who do want to join live, is increasing our viewership by, I think, like 8 to 10 times as many people actually just click the link view the live stream. They don't have to download anything or do anything like that. Pat, was anyone talking to you about that at InfoComm and asking you about the live streaming part of the business?
I think a lot of that's picking up now.
Hmm.
There's kind of the difference between live streaming and video conferencing. In terms of communication strategy, I think in developing content, getting building a platform and developing that message, and then kind of getting it out onto YouTube for either live streaming or recorded video is a good way of going about that. If you're looking for that interactivity or a type of situation where you got to get decision makers on together and to make a call or some big take a big shot or something like that, then you're going to see video conferencing kind of in that market. I don't see a lot of decision makers getting together to live stream something, but yeah, a
Hmm.
lot of people are asking. A lot of I'll say the small to medium sized businesses are looking at this now as something that's not unattainable. You get a lot of churches that are looking at live streaming their services because the younger generation streams it. They get all their information from the internet. So I think you'll see a lot of that picking up. You have even traditional networks looking at live streaming their stuff. And it's just a matter of time. A lot of YouTube stars or something like that are really content creators, and they're getting known by just streaming their stuff to YouTube. So it's definitely a market that's expanding with a lot of interesting reach and potential.
In fact, one of the stories that was picked up by our team and kind of looked at here was Broadway is now live streaming their events, and from what I understand, Pat, I think you read through the article. It was basically because they were sold out; they had no more seats to sell, so they now are selling tickets online.
Yes, right. So I believe they said they were selling the right to view
Hmm.
for $9.99, and it was more or less a situation where a lot of these people are so there are orchestras that do this and stuff around the world. So a lot of people were looking at, one, how can you monetize it, right? Broadway's got to make money off it, which is why they probably won't be live streaming, but also you gotta, it's you know uh breadth, like depth and breadth, if you will. So it's kind of getting that content out to more people, which is really what it's all about, in a way that more people can enjoy it, as well as you reaching those new customers.
Yeah, and it's nice to see somebody like Broadway, somebody that everybody knows, start to jump on the board. We talked about Berkshire Hathaway live streaming their first ever annual shareholders meeting a few webinars back. SpaceX, Elon Musk company live streams every rocket that they launch into space and the rockets that they bring back from space. So everybody from the president of the United States, President Obama does a lot of live streaming on Facebook, to Broadway, to financial giants. But the interesting thing is, are the small businesses doing it? And like you mentioned, the small to medium sized businesses saying this is now attainable, and that's where I think the growth in the market will be. And I think specifically with HuddleCam, because of how plug and play the technology is today, it's not a complicated, expensive setup anymore. You can do professional live broadcasting with a few HuddleCams and like a speaker.
Yep, exactly. And it's really, you try and talk about the applications, and it's all over the map. You're talking about everything from, imagine even just a parent that couldn't make it to your son's or your daughter's play, like a live streaming, a performance at a local elementary school. It's a lot of just interesting applications that are in reach for some of these budgets.
And I prepared a little video, a little studio tour, because we get the question so often, how are you live streaming? How are you doing this? Let's go ahead and take a listen to this quick little, I think it's a 2-minute video showing exactly how this setup in this studio is set up. And we do mention the fact that there's a computer that's bringing in a Zoom caller. So everything that we're producing right here is about, attainable within a $2,000 budget if you already have a computer. So let's take a look at this video, and we'll see how that setup works. Hi everybody, Paul Richards here with HuddleCamHD. We've been getting a lot of requests to do a quick studio tour, so here we go. We've got our green screen behind me, which allows us to do our virtual sets and our transparent backgrounds. And I have an iPad here that I use to do annotation and screen sharing during my live shows, and also to look at the live chat during the screen so it's not in my way. I only have 4 USB 3.0 ports on my computer, so one of them is dedicated to audio. Normally I have a wireless lapel mic, but we've shipped that to our trade show. So I'm using a really cool little USB mixer. It takes 2 XLR or quarter-inch inputs and just converts them to USB 2.0 for my audio, and actually provides phantom power. This is a DPA headset microphone. This is what they use in The Hobbit. They use it on Broadway a lot. Just goes right around my ear and allows me to get a really great pickup without picking up any of the other noise that might be in the room. So this is from DPA. It's really one of the highest quality microphones you can get. So the next thing I have a computer behind me running a Zoom call. And what I do is I actually have a capture card that captures the HDMI video from the computer and brings it into USB into my computer. So coming from that computer to this computer, so I can bring in the remote participants in my talk show from all around the world. I have a USB 3.0 cable coming from my camera over here. So this camera over here, even though it looks like I'm looking at the camera, I actually have HDMI displaying all of my various broadcast options. So it looks like I'm looking at the camera, but I may actually be looking at my broadcast solution. So if I want to change inputs or do something, I can do all of that in my one-man show very easily without having to look at my computer here. I can just look right up there. So that's pretty much everything. The other small point is that I do have just my iPhone headphones, just to give myself so I can hear the far end without it interfering with the microphone. I have a second keyboard and mouse so that I can wirelessly control the Zoom video conference call for my talk show if need be. Normally I don't touch this very often. And then I have just a remote control for my camera in case I need to maybe zoom out or zoom in to just tweak the image just perfectly. But that's it. That's the complete studio tour. Let's get on with the live stream. So that is, just a studio tour. We get that question so often. I wanted to show that off. But let's not veer too far from our main topic today, which is InfoComm. These webinars are really short, just 20 minutes. So Pat, what was the favorite thing that you got to see at InfoComm this year?
Beside our own booth, just lots of, with what we do and the video conferencing and where we play with, USB and pan-tilt zoom cameras. It was nice to see a lot of the software. There's a lot of interesting, software out there, and that includes, Wirecast, the TriCaster, even vMix, which we use, here as well. And it's just kind of very interesting to see a lot of that come out into the market and really provide extremely affordable solutions. We have our own YouTube channel, and we do a lot of live streams every week and whatnot, and it potentially reach millions of people, and it's relatively affordable. So it's just really cool to kind of see a lot of that software coming out and how it interacts with our cameras, and how average people, kind of you and I can leverage that for just growth and opportunities, really.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And we got the chance to just pull out the microphone and ask some of our customers, how did you find out about us? What do you like about the products? And I was really surprised, let's see, who was it? West Virginia University said they love the HuddleCam 10X. They've got it in all their classrooms, and to hear, how they were using it. They were video conferencing surveys using video, video with a Y. They were doing webinars, with doctors around the world with high-end, surgical type of medical, classroom-style surgeries that are going on live. I don't know if they were, real surgeries or if they were like practical educational surveys. I'm not exactly sure. But, it was just customer after customer coming up and saying, hey, we found you guys. We love your cameras. This is how we're using them. Really opened my eyes because, sometimes you forget how many hundreds and hundreds of cameras we're shipping every week. And you forget, these are all going to real people, real applications, real, problems are being solved. Did you talk to anybody in particular that, had an interesting application that you remember?
I mean, it's all over the map. People are using it for telemedicine. I always like to think of the telemedicine stuff. It's really cool. Just reaching some of these rural areas.
Mm.
You kind of forget that United States is a very big place. That's no surprise, but it can be very rural at times. So the cost and feasibility of getting out to some of these remote places, um, and stuff like that. We had a couple of questions from. I've been working with people from the Veteran Affairs Office, getting out to some of these remote areas for health evaluations, psych evaluations, things like that. It's just a very cool application in terms of video conferencing and what you can do today. A couple people looking at live streaming. Once again, we get a lot of interest from churches and houses of worship that are looking to reach more people with their message and their community, which is great and interesting. It's very doable these days. So it's very interesting to get some of those projects and see how they're just implementing video. I think video is an important part in terms of any modern communication strategy, really.
And you know what? We shouldn't forget is that we are going to be going to, I'm going to take this full screen here, ISTE. So do you want to tell us a little bit about ISTE, Pat, and what that program is?
Yeah, International Society of Technology and Education, right? So it's going to be more of an education-based trade show. We'll be out in Denver, booth 817. Feel free to come out and talk to us about our products. We'll have our Huddle tree, so you can see we'll have multiple cameras hooked up, so you can see which best fits your classroom. But yeah, that's another really going to be an interesting show to see how educators and IT professionals in schools are using implementing some of this stuff for education purposes, and how we can take some of this new technology and educate people with it and implement it in schools and the learning process. So it should be cool. Hopefully, that's another very interesting application that people are getting into. Live streaming or recording. Distance learning. They're recording their lessons. For playback or absent students. There's a lot of actually interesting applications in how you can video enable a classroom, and we're seeing that a lot with the distance learning, and that a lot of universities are getting into. But at affordable price points, there's no reason that you can't get this into high schools and elementary schools as well.
Yeah, so that'll be a fun show. That's going to be this Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, if I'm not mistaken. You
Yep.
guys are going to be at booth 817.
Yep, 9 to 5 is the expo hours. If anybody watches this in time, we do have some free expo only free tickets to the hall. So if you want to reach out, we can try and get you an expo pass. And it's expo access only. It's not to the conferences. A lot of these places have talks and professionals and stuff. But if you want to come check us out, and you're in Denver next Monday to Wednesday, reach out and see if we still have tickets left.
All right, well, that's all the time we have. Thanks for joining us, Pat. Have fun at ISTE, and thanks for watching, everybody.
Take care.